This happened back in the 90s when my family dragged me on a vacation to Branson, Missouri. Now, some of you may ask, what's in Branson, Missouri, and why would anyone want to go on vacation there? The answer to the what is that it's sort of like a country bumpkin version of Las Vegas, except instead of casinos, there's live country music shows, tons of touristy souvenir shops, and about 300 places to play putt-putt golf. As for the why, well, you'd have to ask my folks, who weren't especially country, but thought this would make the perfect place for a family vacay. Now, my parents weren't rich by any means, and we didn't take a lot of trips, so this one was a big deal, and they went all out for my older sister and me. We stayed at the fanciest hotel in Branson, which happened to be a Best Western. I've since learned that Best Western isn't the peak of luxury, but I will give them credit. At the time, it was pretty nice. They let me and my sister choose which restaurant we ate at nightly, and they paid for us to drive a go-kart and do something called a duck tour. That's where 20 or so people hop on what's basically a pontoon boat with wheels and go on a tour of the city by both land and sea, all the while blowing on these plastic duck lip quacker things that they pass out upon boarding. The duck took us out to Table Rock Lake as well, which I guess is a big draw to the area, as well as the fact that it's in the heart of the Ozark Mountains. My sister and I complained about having to go to the country music show that my parents got all of us tickets for. We complained about the heat. We complained about not having time to swim at the hotel pool because we had to go to the aforementioned country music show. To sum it up, we did a lot of complaining. Of course, I feel bad about it now, but we were ungrateful kids. What can you do? The vacation ended and was fine, I guess. I've forgotten most of it, to be real with you. But the ride home, well, that's another story. Actually, it's the point of my story. Now, this was back before navigation, when you had to stop at a gas station upon entering a new state, and you would pick up a new state map that was bigger than the car when you unfolded it. There were no live updates about construction or road closures. You just had to look at a map, find a squiggly line that led in the general direction you wanted to drive, and hope for the best. The morning of our departure, my dad put on his reading glasses, held his pointer finger to his chin, and quietly said, to himself. Everyone in my family instantly knew what that meant. Our dad had found one of his famous scenic shortcuts that definitely meant we would be getting lost soon. Why can't we just take the interstate? Our mom protested. Claudia, we're in the Ozarks. Nature, beauty, stuff our kids won't get to see every day. Let's make the most of this trip and have a little fun and adventure. Leave the interstate for the other sheep. And with that, we left Branson and began our scenic adventure. It started off fairly normal. Dad pulled into a breakfast restaurant that had a little country store connected to it, kind of like Cracker Barrel before there was such thing as Cracker Barrel. And this place wasn't trying to convince you it was old and country. It was old and country, but their breakfast was delicious. I remember having pancakes with bacon and about a gallon of strawberry syrup. We finished up breakfast and followed my dad to pay at the cashier inside of the country store part of the place. "Where you headed?" an old white-haired man with a matching beard wearing overalls asked. "Going south," our dad answered. "Back home from Branson." "You taking the interstate?" "Nah, scenic route," our dad proudly exclaimed. The old man studied our dad, then examined the rest of us. "I see. Well, y'all be careful now here. Be real careful." My dad finished paying and we made our way outside. "What was that about, Dad? Be real careful. Why did he say that?" I asked. Just one of those old hillbillies trying to scare some out-of-towners. Probably says that to everyone that comes through here. Before getting back into the car, I looked through the window of the store to see the old man watching us, eyes locked on me like a laser, and I could have sworn that I saw him mouth some words to me, but I couldn't make them out. "Come on, champ, hop in. We have a lot of ground to cover today," my dad ordered, breaking me from the trance of the old man's gaze. We drove what must have been an hour through two-lane roads in the mountains that changed elevation often, which forced me to swallow my spit to pop my ears. The road snaked left and right, and the only scenery was more trees and occasionally more rocks. I started to feel carsick. "Dad, can we stop soon? I'm not feeling too great." He was visibly annoyed at the unplanned stop, but tried to not show it and replied, "Sure, champ. The old wagon here needed to refuel anyway. All this accelerating up the hills and hard braking on the way down is making her thirsty." He pulled into an old country store that looked like it doubled as a mechanic shop as well. Everything about it looked old and dirty. "Harold, are you sure this place is even open?" Mom asked. And about that time, a greasy man in mechanic's overalls emerged from the shop, wiping his dirty hands on a shop rag. "Oh, hey there, boss. Just go ahead and fill her on up for me, would ya?" our dad ordered. The man didn't respond or move. He just kept wiping his hands on the rag while sizing my dad up. "This is a full-service station, correct?" my dad asked. "No," the greasy man finally said. "Oh, sorry about that, boss. I just assumed you were coming out to pump the gas for us." The man kept staring my dad down, then said, "Well, you know what they say about assumptions." My dad made a nervous laugh and replied, "Yep, I do, indeed I do," then went on to pump his own gas. "Mom, can you get me a 7-Up or a Sprite? I feel kind of nauseous," I said. Sure, honey," she nervously answered. "You two stay put while I run in." The greasy mechanic followed my mom into the store side of the station. I figured he was the only worker being way out here in the middle of nowhere and did a double duty as both cashier and mechanic. She returned a few moments later with a 7-Up in hand, but stopped before getting back to the car and whispered something in my dad's ear with a concerned look on her face that made my dad turn toward the store and stare through the store's windows. The gas pump finally clicked, signifying the tank was full, and my dad started to get back into our car, but the worker came back outside first. "Which way y'all headed?" he asked with a thick country accent. "South," my dad replied with a serious tone. "Wouldn't take Scenic 7 if I were you. Bridge washed out last night. They got it blocked off, and the detour takes at least a half hour to get around. You'll want to take that little dirt road up there on the right to the interstate and go around it." "Right, got it," my dad replied with a sarcastic tone. "If that bumpkin thinks I'm going to follow his directions after he said what he said to you and basically sized me up in the parking lot," he angrily said to my mom. "What did he say to Mom, Dad?" I asked. "Nothing. Don't worry about it. Just buckle in and enjoy the ride because we're not stopping until we're out of these mountains." We drove for several more miles until I heard my dad say, "Shit," and saw the road closed sign blocking our route. There were no other cars on the road, so my dad put the car in park and whipped out his trusty map and began tracing a new path with his finger. "It looks like if we backtrack a few miles, there's a road that will loop us around and get us back on track." Our mom hesitantly agreed, knowing it would be pointless to argue with him anyway. The road we turned on ended up not being much of a road at all, but more like a dirt trail. Some of the trees were so overgrown that their branches scraped the side of the car, drawing my already pissed off dad to rage even more. "These damned highway department guys need to get out here and trim some of these trees," he scolded. "I don't think we're on a highway, Harold," our mom offered up. Dad didn't respond. He just kept driving, too stubborn to turn around now, until we heard a loud pop. "Are you serious?" Dad said. "You have got to be kidding me." He pulled the car over to what amounted to the side of the trail, but was actually still blocking half the road. He got out to take a look and kick some dirt around while saying a few choice words. "All right, everyone out. We got a flat tire and I'll have to change it. Shit." We all hopped out and I began taking a look around. We were completely surrounded by forest on all sides. Cicadas sang a deafening chorus all around us. It was eerie. And then I spotted something shining in the middle of the road behind us and walked over to take a look. A spike strip. "Dad!" I yelled, and he came running over. "Check this out." "What in the unholy hell? Who would put this in the road?" Dad asked. I began to get scared, knowing the spikes weren't put there by accident. My dad scanned the tree line for whatever. "All right, listen. Stay close to me while I get this tire changed. As soon as I get the spare on, I'm going to drive us out of here the way we came, and I guess we'll go back to that station from earlier and let that jackass fix it for us. Just keep an ear peeled for any strange noises." We did as instructed, and I kept my head on a swivel. Only birds chirping and cicadas buzzing. Until I heard another noise, off in the distance, but getting louder. A car. Dad heard it too and stopped changing the tire to gather us close. The old truck arrived in a whirlwind of red dirt. There were 3 men who all got out, and none looked particularly friendly. The skinniest one of them spoke as he took a toothpick from his mouth. "Looks like y'all having a bit of car trouble. Need a hand?" The other men just looked on, eyes a little too eager for something. "Nah, that's all right, just a flat tire. Wouldn't want to trouble you all. I got it. Thank you, though," my dad said as politely as possible. "No trouble at all," the skinny man said with a grin that revealed a golden tooth. "In fact, let me take some of that weight off you so you can change that tire easier. Let's go ahead and start with your wallet. Hand it over." As the man said it, one of the other, larger men lifted his shirt slightly to reveal a pistol tucked in his waistband. Our mom put her arms around my sister and I and pulled us closer in while Dad stood in front between us and the men and threw his hands up in the air in a surrendering motion. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Everything's fine. Everything's good. You want my wallet? Take it. And the watch, the skinny man commanded. Her purse, too. And crack open those suitcases. Let's see what kind of treasures y'all got stashed away in there. My dad cooperated and kept telling the men that they could have whatever they wanted as long as they left his family be. The men seemed to find it amusing that my dad was bargaining for our safety, as if he had a say-so in the matter. The men carefully rummaged through our suitcases, one by one, pulling out clothes and souvenirs, finding nothing of real value. One of them took my Game Boy, and I remember another of them taking some of my sister's underwear. The man who took those kept giving my sister dirty looks and licking his lips at her, but the skinny man slapped him over the head and told him to knock it off. After they made a mess of our luggage and everything inside our car, the skinny man turned to my dad and gave him some final instructions. "Here's the way it's going to work. I'm going to take everything in your wallet, the cash, the ATM card, the credit cards, and this pretty little driver's license here that tells me that you and your lovely family can be found at 214 Sycamore Lane. Then I'm going to use the ATM card to withdraw some cash from myself, and maybe I'll use the credit card to buy the boys here something nice as well, since they've been so hospitable to you and your family. And you're going to be more than okay with that, and you're definitely not going to call the police or the bank to cancel any of the cards, because I sure don't want to have to drive all the way out to 214 Sycamore Lane and pay your lovely family another visit. Are we clear? Harold?" My dad just nodded, and the 3 men got back in their truck and drove away. My sister was crying. My mom was hysterical. I think my dad was mostly embarrassed that he didn't put up more of a fight, but looking back, there was absolutely nothing he could have done. But now as a man myself, I get it. But if he would have reacted any other way than what he did, who knows how that day might have gone. He finished changing the tire and we got the hell out of there, back to the station with the greasy mechanic that my dad thought was trying to set us up, but was actually trying to help. "What the hell did you run over?" It really tore this tire up. You say you ran this over on the interstate? The greasy man asked. Yeah, my dad lied. We got a new tire and got out of the Ozark Mountains, this time taking the interstate home.